Hello, listeners, followers, and subscribers. You are listening to the Band1 reRUN podcast, in which I interview and talk story with directors as we run it back to the 2019 marching band season and discuss the process of how their 2019 marching band shows came about. But before you continue listening, be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube and follow me on Instagram at _band1_ for more content. Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Band1 reRUN podcast. Today I'm joined with Mr. Casey Kitano of the Kailua High School Surfrider Marching Band.
So I'm a tuba player.
Oh yeah?
I started on percussion. I was a percussionist in 7th and 8th grade. But then in 8th grade summer school, I started learning to play the tuba, and I really enjoyed it. So I think in about 9th to 10th grade, I switched completely to just playing low brass.
Yeah.
I just like playing a wind instrument more. What did you play?
I played trumpet, and it's funny how you brought out the sound back then, because we used to be slammed on just playing too loud, I remember.
Oh, like the rawness, I guess.
Yeah, like the intonation, I remember being told to sound better and not so like wailing. I remember in practices, we were just trying to like sound piercing and not like go against the musical, what is it, the levels that they on the like fortissimo or like double F,
or like a lot of marching band is like double forte, triple forte movements and stuff like that.
Right, and we used to play notes that weren't even written. We tried to like
just throw
scream. It's so funny, but those are like some of the people who could actually like reach those notes. I stick to whatever was written because that's all I know. You jumping on board because this is your second year, just wanting to revive the program?
Well, like I wanted there to be, so I started at Kailua High School in like the 2017-2018 school year.
Yeah.
It was my first year, and then I wanted to start the marching band, but I wasn't going to do it that first year. We wanted to give it a year, where I'm just getting used to being the band director.
Right.
But the second year I was telling them, like, definitely let's have a marching band. I actually took the band to watch Rainbow Invitational in 2017. Just kind of be like, okay, we're going to do this next year. So we took like a field trip and we watched it, Rainbow Invitational. And then the students really wanted to do it. And it was very exciting. And I was like, also sitting there, I was like thinking to myself, like, okay, there's no reason why we shouldn't do this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason why we shouldn't and we can't do this with our band. Like, the students are eager and willing to do it, and they're excited to do it and driven. So I was just like, okay, next year we're definitely going to do it. And then the process of starting it up was I just like did my best to try to convince the students that it's worth doing. Of course, there's the gung-ho ones that are like, yeah, let's do it. But then if there's 10 gung-ho ones, and then, we still have to add more. So I did my best at recruiting as many students as possible.
Right.
And then that first year, it was literally everybody was just new. So we just, I taught them what I knew about marching, which was not a whole lot. And then I also, got the charts from the guy that writes the drill. And then I remember the process of lining the field was like, we didn't even know how to do that. So like the section there is like, okay, we have to align this field, and I have instructions I found online, this PDF.
Wow.
The process of that was just like funny, how funny it was at first. But then the longer we did it, the better we got at it. So
yeah, it's a learning process, and to see that you guys like figure it out your first year, and everyone has to start somewhere. And last year's show was, it was pretty good. La La Land. and then to come back in 2019 with a more sophisticated and more challenging show.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like I give all the credit in the world to like the students being willing to do such crazy rehearsal hours. Like our
Mhm.
rehearsal schedule is like Tuesday and Thursday from 6 to 8:30,
Wow, yeah,
and also Sunday from 1 to 4:30. So like it's a lot of rehearsal. I know that maybe some schools do more, and I'm sure that a lot of schools do less too. But like when I was like trying to explain it, it's like kind of a hard sell where it's like, okay, we're gonna be rehearsing nearly 9 hours a week.
that's a lot.
The hot sun, and you're gonna have to be here on the weekend, and you have to block off like I don't know how many shows it is, like 6 7 dates of like shows that are gonna happen.
Right,
But somehow, trust me, it's gonna be worth it. It's like it's a very hard sell at first until they have experienced it,
right,
being in the shows, meeting the other students from other schools that are working just as hard, and everybody's there with knowing that how much work we've all put into it, and then getting to meet. It's like warms my heart when they're talking to students from Wanalua or students from other schools, and
yeah,
getting their Instagram and like talking and making friends. And then I hear, oh, we're gonna go hang out with the AIA kids today. I'm like, okay, go. That's what we're there for. That's why, right? It's like
right.
build these connections. That's why I loved it. And then so I'm really like stoked that they were able to have that experience, are able to have the experience, and grateful to the students and parents of our school
Yeah,
that were willing to go and do that journey.
right.
It's been a learning process for me because I was not really super a marching band type person. I mean, I did it throughout high school,
Yeah,
and I did it for half of my time in college.
right.
But I never went and marched like drum corps, or I never like really delved into it. So like when I came to Kailua High School, we weren't there. There was no marching band originally, and from the first season that we did in 2018, there was like a 6 year hiatus where
Right.
there was no marching band. So trying to start that up, my mentality was like, okay, we're gonna have like a really small band. Like we're not gonna be like AAA from the start. I mean, the band as a whole back then was only like 45, 40 members or whatever.
Mhm.
So like the marching band was small, but I just always, I mean, you kind of mentioned how you wanted to, you guys kind of got marked down for like the sound being too edgy and brassy.
Yeah,
Um, my thought was always like, I want to make an impact, and I want the band to make an impact, even though, regardless of what size we are. I want us to have a really impact when we play,
right.
loud.
Yeah,
There's loud moments. I want it to sound full. I don't want it to sound. I mean, it could possibly have sounded better when it's in the box and you're playing within this sort of like nice sound area. But I
right.
was like, let's try to push that a little bit, because personally, as an audience member and as just like as a fan of music, I would like to hear more of a presence of the sound.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah.
so it's not necessarily what like the adjudicators want to hear, because we would even like recently when we did our last year's show, we would always get marked down for being too loud. But I'm like, I don't really care. It's just, that's what I believe in. That's why. So like, it's
Yeah.
kind of yeah.
That was one of the actually points that I wanted to ask was what was the rehearsals like? Because for you guys' size, like the opener, you guys came out banging with like this sound, and it doesn't stop there. It goes all the way through the closers.
It was a lot of like rehearsal as far as like moving air for the wind instruments,
Yeah.
and a lot of breathing. A
Mhm.
lot of breathing, especially I guess like conditioning. A lot of that. It's one thing to be sitting inside like a band room in AC and then be playing like at fortissimo volume, but it's a completely different story, as you know, and as all the students will know, when you're marching at like 170 beats per minute,
Right.
or maybe it wasn't that fast, but like 150 beats per minute, and then having to play fortissimo. It's like literally a cardiovascular exercise, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of conditioning, and then just becoming not so much like the intake of air, but being efficient with how to use it.
Hmm.
A lot of the musical things was like we had to plan like, okay, literally like, okay, you three trumpet players don't play at this point and save it for this. Like there was a lot of
Right.
that.
Yeah.
because we need you guys to be fresh when this part, so you have to cover by playing out over here, and it's like that kind of stuff. Yeah, that we would do.
Strategical and like staggering,
Staggering the playing,
right? I remember those
hard
doing
to.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could just talk about the theme, stained glass, and what stained glass is about.
Yeah, so it was, and I probably could have explained this a lot better last year when it was fresh in my mind. But like, basically, how we figured that theme was I was just listening to different shows online, and then I was kind of between that show and a different one. But then I asked the students. I played it both for like the students, and then I was like, "What do you guys like more?" And I said that one of them is much easier than the other. Like actually, the stained glass show the ranges, the tessitura where it lies for a lot of the instruments, and like the demand for it is pretty. It was hard. You know, it was a hard musically challenging for us at least.
Right.
But then I said, so that's going to be harder to do. Like this stained glass show will be harder, but also, I think personally, I said, I think it sounds cooler. And then they all agreed, yeah, let's go for it. You know, let's just do it and let's just do our best at it and give it our all. And I was like, okay, well, that's what we're going to do then. So that's how we kind of, chose it. I liked it because I liked that it was incorporating like real music.
Yeah.
Not to say that like other shows are not doing real music, but classical music and like uh significant historical music. You know, like a lot of Mozart. It had the Verdi's Requiem in it. It had
Right.
like Salvation is Created, which is like a very like a band literature standard.
Hmm.
And because of those themes, I thought that it had good educational value as well.
Right.
A lot of time marching band music is kind of just composed for the sake of marching band, but I liked that the stained glass theme had some historical music and there are some like learning there to be had.
Right. Classical. That's the vibe that I was getting, especially just hearing the sound that you guys were producing and the songs that were selected. I know that second piece. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. It's Dice Era. I mean,
Yes,
that very fast, more popular now because I like Carolina Crown played it and like
yeah.
Cavaliers played it. What is the beginning rehearsals like at Kailua for marching band, like plotting the field or the charts?
So like the very first day or like before we start our actual, usually we would have camp in like mid-July, a couple weeks before school actually starts.
Yeah.
And the band camp, I say camp, but it's like 5 days for like 9 hours a day, so Monday through Friday. And then, but previous or prior to that, we do just a basics 3 days of like 4 hours where we're just me and the section leaders and you know staff or whatever are helping and just teaching teaching everybody how to march, like the newcomers, especially freshmen, like that, how to march, you know, how to forward march, backwards march, left, right, plank, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Horn angles, yeah, and like the commands. Although I kind of moved away from doing too many commands this year, like about face, because you don't really use that in an actual show. So I'm like, we don't really have to teach that too much. But yeah, just like a lot of just those fundamental stuff, like how to take a step. I think a lot of kids come in, they're like, oh, I just have to walk and play, but it's like, no, yeah, it's a little bit harder than that.
Exactly.
But
Yeah. What kind of DCI trends have you guys been adopting? Like, there's a lot of body work, especially with the winds now.
well, we tried. Like to be quite honest, I don't like know much about that, and my extent of learning it will be like watching a TCI show and like literally just trying to figure out what they're doing in slow motion. But I also had help from some help from other people that march DCI that could teach it a lot more efficiently. Like my friend Tate Sakamoto,
Mhm.
he was a big help with us, like doing everything and implementing some of that DCI type training, which I don't know much about at all. So I guess that's like the extent of it. Like it's just like watching the videos and having help from other people that have marched DCI and know more about it.
Right. I think that's just any kind of help, especially those who have been in that activity. I guess it's very beneficial because a lot of bands are doing it now. What was the experience like for introducing the props?
Yeah, we had that little
The-
stained glass. It's very stressful. That
Yeah,
whole we didn't even put the props in until like the rehearsal before the show, the one rehearsal before like the first show that we used it. And I have to give them, the parents, all the credit in the world, because they like, or the parents and the students made it, you
right,
know. I kind of was like, okay, this is what I want. Like if I like, this is kind of like what I'm envisioning is like these panels, these stained glass looking panels. And then I don't know the first thing about how you would make it though. This is, in a perfect world, this is what it would look like. And I kind of explained it. And then they went and just like designed it. It was like it was plastic. It wasn't glass or anything heavy. It was plastic and wood, but they painted it all. And it somehow, we got very fortunate that there wasn't too much wind at any one of the shows,
right.
and that also it held up throughout like the duration of whatever amount of shows that we used it. And yeah, it was good. I think it added just a little bit of like this aesthetic to like the whole thing. It kind of brought it more together.
Right. The brass trio just standing in front of it gave it a little more like visual element and
Yeah,
made
for
them
sure.
pop.
Made it pop out more. That brass trio, by the way, was not. That was just like kind of put in there. It was not a trio. It's not written as a trio. It was written as like
Ah,
small trumpet solo. But then we were kind of just like, it would be cool if it was more of a feature right there, because it's not
right.
a going on in the piece at that time. So we kind of just made it work.
The whole freedom, not go strictly by what was written and just see what you can enhance. So I think
Yeah,
that's a cool thing.
it's totally cool. It's cool to like mess around with it, even like the charts and stuff like that. Sometimes the charts just aren't working. What was given is just like, this is not working and it's hard. And so like we kind of messed around with it and put some like choreographies type stuff, which was not a part of that, of course, too. But it was like, yeah,
Yeah,
what can we do to make it work and still be cool, but like make it also ultimately, I think, easier.
right. What is your favorite part of last year's show?
Oh, it's definitely that, either the opening hit
Hmm.
where it just starts with the chimes, and then like that opening hit, because there's no real lead up into it. It's just like sound from the beginning. So I really liked that aspect of the show. And I really liked the second movement too,
Yeah,
because it's just exciting and cool. I thought it was exciting, the
those are
music.
definitely my favorite too. I like the closer, and anytime you guys use that signature cape, the blue, it's nice to see that from the last show that I seen before 2018 was, I think, 2010. To see the uniform on the field again was
Yeah.
such a nice feeling. What are your thoughts on the future?
Oh, well, I want to keep it going, and I want to just keep trying to improve. I want us
Right.
to keep improve musically, and there's so much to improve on, like musically, the marching and stuff like that, and props and all this stuff. Like I think that size, like band size wise, even I would like to see us go into like the double A division, triple A
Yeah.
division, if possible.
Hmm.
Like why not? That's why, because that's honestly exciting for me. Is like I guess it's one way to like mark improvement is like, okay, what are the scores? Are the ratings better every year or whatever it may be? But I think another way to like to gauge the improvement and success of the program overall is just how many people are getting involved in it.
Hmm.
And if more students are like stoked to be in marching bands, stoked to do this, and like wanting to join and be a part of it and be a part of this thing, then I think that I will value that higher than any kind of like trophies or any kind of like scores or whatever. If it can reach more people and more students, then I think that it's things are going in the right direction. So yeah, just to improve on the marching quality, sound quality, all of that stuff, but also like grow, expand.
That is something we all want to see you guys accomplish. I know sky's the limit. I also wanted to give a shout out to your guys' Drumline because they always repost my
Oh
pictures
yeah,
and stuff. What are rehearsals like with the Drumline? Because they're like really playing, and I'm like pretty
yeah.
impressed.
They're it impresses me every time, man. Like they'll just be having these rehearsals and sectionals, and without even me saying to do it or anything like that, you know, like they literally will just I'll see them like rehearsing outside. After I would see them rehearsing outside, and I'll be like, and I'm like, oh, that's good, you know, like. And like I'm telling you, like that's one of the greatest things of this job as being a band director. I don't know, it's like seeing you can see them improve,
Yeah,
and then from like not being able to do something to being able to do it and doing it well and executing it well, like that, and then to see them be able to reap the rewards of it by being like happy and to see their thrill about it, it's like awesome. So they would just rehearse a lot, like they would just, without me telling them to do it, you know,
yeah,
they'd all be there just trying to make things better, just trying to make things cleaner and whatever.
so
And
good. Yeah,
yeah, I also have to give a lot of credit and thanks to the person that was like the drum tech, Joel Himpaivan, because he was my former student, but now
mm.
he's at University of Hawaii.
Oh yeah,
But he did a lot of help with them too, and help them clean up things and taught them and helped them with the sticking at points and stuff like that.
right.
Uh, yeah, in general, uh, lots of thanks and shout outs to him, I guess. Yeah.
I think a lot of people who return to their alma mater to help is, I would say, very humbling, and I would be grateful too to have any kind of help and resource,
Yeah.
or and to see them move on to bigger, better things like at the college, play at the college level.
No, sorry. Any help from anybody is great. Like the more help there is, the more eyes on the field, like the better the show is gonna be. Because I think as a singular director, if you're the only person and you're up there in the box or whatever, and
Mm,
or like you're on the field, when you're on the field, you can't see what the pictures look like.
right.
And when you're on up there, you can't really see fine details about like what is actually going on in their feet and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So that's why I think having like that, those people that come and help, the staff that come and help and see the fine details and fix them a little bit or whatever, it's a big help.
Yeah,
So I would like more. Like I really it's too much of a shame because I think the more longer that we do this, the more returning students we're gonna have. Obviously, the first year there was no like alumni, so like you know there wasn't too much help there. But this year we had more, or last year we had more, and then hopefully going forward we have more and more. And even not necessarily alumni, but people that just want to come and help.
right. I think this activity is special to a lot of people. I'm always in the stands just appreciating what you guys put on the field, and as well as other schools. So I know it's a lot of work for those who are involved at that level. It's coming back, and you guys as directors are like super busy with the kids, and I just appreciate just being able to like step back and enjoy your guys' shows that you guys put on.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all that you do recording stuff and putting it on like you have no, or I don't know if you have any idea, but like my students are like, oh, Band1 posted the, you know,
Yeah,
the show from yesterday. They look forward to watching that stuff, like truly.
it's such a exhilarating experience to even like be in this position to use the platform that I have. I mean, there's other people who are doing it, but I'm thankful that I'm receiving that like attention. By no means I'm like not trying to gather like as much views or likes or whatever. It's just I am truly passionate of recording and posting you guys pictures from all schools. So
Yeah,
I
well, I
know.
wish that there was something like this, like what you're doing when I was in high school. Because like I would always want to watch the show back, but like we had like junk flip phones and stuff like that.
Right.
Like the quality was like 240,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I couldn't really see much. Uh, and to have like a high definition, high resolution, like good shot of like the show with good sound quality and stuff like that, like that's like invaluable. Even for me as a director, you would post it, and we could watch it and like, okay, what can we fix?
Right.
And
I wish I had that too because back then the technology wasn't so good. I remember we would just go back to the band room after a competition and they would play. I guess it was recorded on like cassette tape or DV is what it was called. But I was like, oh, it would be cool to even have access to this. YouTube wasn't even a thing. But I
yeah,
remember like going to shows like maybe to Kamehameha, and I had this iPod video.
Yeah.
And my mom, who would do all this home videos, I would put it on my iPod video, and I'm in a bus full of like trumpets, which I played, and I'm just playing the show on this tiny iPod video, and everyone's just huddling and crowding over. I was like, oh my gosh. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, that kind of thing, I kind of like remember the struggle of watching your shows back then. But
Yeah, for sure.
it's what a time to be in technology now. I think it's good use to providing educational feedback and, like you said, improving show to show. That's what I miss on a regular season, is just on the grind, video editing and uploading. But this new series now is getting me to do that. So actually, I had this thought of producing this kind of series, but in person, like
Yeah.
interviewing and making more like fancy videos. But this will suffice. So
Yeah, for sure. Like that, it's great, and I'm all for it. Yeah.
thank you, Casey, for allowing me to interview and just talk story. Hope to see you guys in the future in person.
Once we can, we will definitely be there.
Take care.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Take care.
Thanks.